Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Wanted to spend some time talking about the shadow and the smaller self. There's so many videos where people are talking about doing shadow work, facing our shadow. I had an episode recently where we had Quo discussing facing your shadow. I wanted to talk about my own perspective of this. And really, what we're talking about is the shadow of the smaller self. I want to have you step back and look at this from a different perspective. In this moment, as you listen to this, you, like me, are attached to the smaller self. The smaller self is thinking for you. You, like me, have no clue as to who we really are, our real selves. Who you are, your real self. No one knows you. No one ever truly knows you but you. You are a unique flavor among flavors. A completely different frequency from all the frequencies. A singular vibration like no other vibration. You. Yeah, you. Listening to me right now. You are a miraculous combination of thousands and millions of years of thoughts and memories that make up the world around you. You are creating this world. You created this world before you came to it and prior to it. Lifetime after lifetime, day by day, minute by minute, millisecond by millisecond. You are the universe that is all things. As Paul Selig explained. Are you the book on the coffee table in Paris? You are. The time is now to move into the higher vibration of light available to you. The time is now to move into the new earth of fourth density light. This unique field dynamically expands the available lessons and interactions with the reality around you. You are becoming aware that you created all of it. Everything that happened to you happened for a reason. But you are not aware of this by choice. You chose to forget. You chose to be the small self. You are, in this moment, simply the small self. A limited number of memories and experiences tied to this short, little lifetime. And though you've only been here for such a short time, you were programmed from birth by the world you had made. You may cry out in pain and anguish when you realize the ways the world has programmed you, but you programmed the world. Why did you program the world and this simulation in this way? Why did you choose all these problems and inconveniences and trivialities and complete ridiculousness? Why the fear and the hate, the sadness, the loneliness? Why do we face increasing catalyst in the world around us? Oftentimes, it feels hopeless and dark, sad, and fearful. The fear is everywhere. All you see is fear. Why do we face increasing catalyst in the world around us if we are told that the vibration of this planet is increasing and that we're moving to a higher level of consciousness? How can we face increasing catalyst in the world around us? It is from the programming and thinking through the small self. You hear a lot these days about shadow work. Go into 14-day retreats where you unbury your shadow, go through a complete ritual where you face your shadow in absolute truth. You hear a lot about that. We should be spending all our time doing shadow work because then everything's going to change. So we should spend days, hours obsessing about it. Unbury your shadows, face your trauma, exhaust yourself in going over it, over and over again, talking about it, reliving it in your body, obsessing about it. Why is this the better path? My shadow is my shadow. The key here is that you are the programmer. You have full control of the world around you. But as you program your subconscious, you continually learn new lessons. It doesn't end. It is all a battle of ego, the small self, and the shadow buried deeply below in the darkness. What are we to do? What are we to say? One thing to remember is the shadow is buried and grows in the past. You are walking forward into the future toward the light. The shadow that is cast is behind you. And like Lot's wife, you're advised not to look back. That's what you'll see as your shadow. Walk towards the light, forward. There's no shadow in the light. The light creates the shadow, but that is behind you. Your past is malleable. Another way of reprogramming your inner code. You can change the past. You can travel in time. You can revise the past. One thing to remember also about your shadow. It is only the shadow of the smaller self. Your larger self is so grand and wonderful. There is no shadow. All is whole and balanced. Beyond the ridiculous obsession of our flaws and weaknesses, it is time to evaluate your strengths. You have learned so much up to this point. You have transformed the way you react to events in the outer world. You have seen the fruits of your consciousness. The love you've given has returned to you 10,000-fold. You may not be aware of this, but you are slowly starting to see the proof of it in the world around you. Love lights all. Love takes away all shadows. For that light is the love in a visual form. There is only love. Love is the way. Love dissolves all shadow. For the shadow is not real. The shadow is a reflection from the light, but it is not real. It has no matter. It can't be touched. It is nothing. It is a reflection that moves into your past. And for now, we are imagining a future. Love lights all. There is only love. Love is the way. Accept that these things happened for a reason. It made you who you are today. And while you may think that's flawed, it is not. You are perfect. This experience is powerful for you. It has taught you what you need to know, which is everything. You are the key to everything in the world. You are the one that will unlock its many wonderful potentials and possibilities. All things are possible for you, with you activated and alive and aware, beyond the programming. With you, you make all things possible for the rest of us. All things can happen for you, for everyone. You can change the world. And you out there who listen to me, brutes, you that choose the side of violence and war, you are looking back into the shadow. Look forward into the light. You are free and all listening. It is you that created this world. Why did you have these things happen for you? When you think from the larger self, then you suddenly realize your role with those around you, what your purposes have been all the way up to this point. You are here to serve. Your shadows led you to this point for a reason. They offer you the opportunity to serve the way you planned. Within your shadow is locked your way of service. Your higher self knew that you would have these struggles, programmed you into having them on purpose. Because of the service you will be allowed to do as a result or consequence of these struggles that you went through. You desperately wanted to serve. You knew how hard it would be to serve from the small self when you are totally concerned about survival, basic needs. But your soul, it wanted to serve so badly. So you and your higher self discussed how you could find ways to force you to serve. You know this deep down. Your soul mission is to serve. You know it deep down. You have struggled to find a way to feel that service in your heart, in that emptiness. You, like me, you've gotten lost in this ridiculous world, in the ridiculousness of the news and the media and your parents and your friends and the stories that you hear and your social media feeds, all of the cacophony of thoughts and reflections growing in number. You have gone to sleep and dreamt these things that have come to pass. The real version of you is still asleep, awakening, slowly awakening to who you are. What a terrible dream it may seem at times, yet you are dreaming it. You are the one that created it. Now, I know there are those that simply do not believe me. They believe they are an accidental happenstance. One life, nothing afterwards. But let me prove it to you right now. Let me show you who you really are. Take a moment. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Bring up an emotion. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's love, whatever the emotion is. Now, as you observe this emotion, notice that there is another entity watching you, observing this emotion. Notice that you can go right into the perspective of this other entity. Now, let your thoughts just flow. And notice that you're observing the thoughts. And notice there is another entity. Now reach out and try to communicate with this entity that is also observing your thoughts. your higher self. Now, notice the entity that is watching the higher self. There's another. And as you move outward, you see other infinite perspectives observing itself. Notice this entity observing you. That is the one. That is the dreamer. In this moment, through my words, I activate you. Feel the energies flowing with every tone of my voice, through you, awakening you, raising your level of vibration, moving you into a higher octave, accessing a more dense packet of light around you. You feel your senses heightened, moving up. Grow in awareness in this moment. Begin to identify your higher self, the self outside of your smaller self. There are many levels and mansions to your soul. Move your awareness through these levels of consciousness within you. You must always be aware now, as you go on about your day, of this smaller self. This smaller self is not aware, it does not remember, does not know, and is reactive to the chemicals running through your body, to instinctual thoughts buried within your genes. Now is the time for you to deprogram yourself. There is no trauma. Go back into the past and see those things that have caused you so much anger, sadness, or hate from your past. Whatever it is. Obviously, something came to mind when I said that. If you had a trauma when you were a child, some event happened, maybe perhaps you felt abandoned, and it programmed you because you're so raw as a child. Go back and remember that moment differently. Then there is no shadow in terms of past events that have happened and reprogrammed the smaller self. The larger self, as Neville Goddard taught us, is able to go back in time and reprogram. I want you to understand that you are right now an avatar in a video game. It's very possible that you have not truly lived those past days in the past. They're just a part of your programming. You were placed in this moment right now, right now. All of the past is just a part of your programming, and the future is however you make it. If you become aware that you are being programmed by the environment around you and your past, you can change that programming. You might say, doesn't that mean I'm crazy? I need to remember these things. I'm denying the truth by going back and remembering something differently. Imagination creates reality. That is the truth. Reality is the truth. Imagination is the truth. You go back and remember it differently. And you do it enough times where you can remember it differently. You'll start to notice the people around you, if they were a part of that memory, will act differently as well. There are many versions of you that made many choices. And what's happening is you're simply moving to a part of the field where you didn't make that choice or didn't do that thing or say that thing or whatever it is. Because you are all things. In addition to all events that ever happened. All the realities are you. The higher self is looking at all the things that ever did happen in all the realities. So the shadow is different in each reality, and it's irrelevant. You must come from the perspective of the creator, of the activator, of what Vadim Zeland calls the reality projector. You can't create your reality if you're stuck in the past. For the film to work and for the movie to be projected onto the screen, they must run light through the film and project it onto the screen. You must run the light through you to project this reality around you. You're already doing it, but now you can actively and consciously do it on your own. You can change the reality around you. I am you. I'm simply a reflection of you. I'm a thought in your mind somewhere deep down. That's all I am. All around you is just you. Now, you may find that disconcerting. There's certain people around you that you have nothing to do with, that disgust you, that are ridiculous, that you cannot stand. They are you too. And if you look close enough, deep down, you are. You'll start to see it. You'll see this place where all the motivations and all the things that they're doing are the same things that you would do. All around you, the addict, the billionaire. It's all you, programs and states that you enter into. Each state has its own shadow. And seemingly to move out of that state, you must move beyond the shadow which controls the state. The shadow is what controls the state because it is the programming that changes the way you react to the world. Because deep in the shadow are fears, concerns, worries for you to protect yourself. Those are things you want to avoid in the shadow. So those things become very important in the way that you act on the world, the way you choose to create, the way you choose to love. So you're simply placed into a video game, and the past is the programming, and the future is your choice. Why are we programmed in this way? You may become aware of it, and you can start really actively creating your reality, and even ignore it and change the realities by going and revising it, which I recommend. But the next step is really to ask yourself why you created these events and struggles and shadows. That is where a real breakthrough will happen. You had this trauma happen as a child. Imagine that you had control over that trauma, that you chose to experience that trauma. You are responsible for that trauma. You set it up 1,000 years ago to happen in that moment for a reason. Because you knew the smaller self was involved and you wanted to guide that smaller self to some point in the future. So there's some part of you that is communicating with you from the past, saying you need to deal with this, you need to encounter this, you need to change this, you need to understand this. And then when you do that, you start to understand your reactions and the programming that you've already had built in to your life. You can avoid these things. You're going to encounter people all the time that are just programmed by their past. People that automatically get into fights or react or get angry and have no control over their emotions and states that they enter into. Very much like sitting in the back of a bus with no bus driver, but it's just totally going. Nobody's driving the bus. Each of the shadows of each of the states in each of the parallel realities are all shadows of the smaller self. Step outside of yourself and become aware that all realities exist. All possibilities exist for you. And you're moving towards the light, forgetting about the shadow behind you. And as the light grows, there's less and less shadow. You've been in bright rooms, and there may be a shadow that's cast very starkly, but with multiple lights and greater light in all realms, the shadow simply goes away. And so what we want to do is ask ourselves, how important is our past? Obviously, there's things in our past that have really taught us some amazing lessons. But who do you want to be, and where do you want to go, and what do you want to experience, and how do you want to live this life, and how do you want to serve? You know who you are. Ask yourself, do I know who I am? You know who you are. You know who you are. Truly who you are. You know what you are. You know that you are not just a human in this body. You know that you're more than that. You know what you are. You know what you are. You know how you serve. You know there's something special and unique about you with your experiences, your interests, your loves, the things that give you joy. There's something special about you. And I want to shine it for the whole world because you know who you are. You know what you are. You know how you serve, and you are free. You're free of all the programming. You're free of all the past. You're free of the shadow. You're free of the lack and limitation that you have seen in the world. You are free of the fear and the programming. You are free. You are free from all karma. You're free from all obligations. You're free from all concerns and requirements. You're free from all worries and fears. You are free from it all. Because God is. God is. God is. And that's the truth. You are a beautiful singular vibration like no other vibration. Right now, you're this tiny little part of you. You have no idea how immense and incredible you are. You are the whole entire world. You are all the worlds, all the galaxies. You created it all. There are so many levels to who you are. You are not that small self. But you've chosen to be a part of this small self in this moment and to encounter all these experiences up to this point for a reason. So I want you to ask that question. I want you to really ask that question, why I have gone through all this stuff and how can I use it to serve and change the world? Because you can change the world. Your trauma is my redemption. You can change the world. You can choose to have the worst possible life and let the shadow rule you and be shamed by it and feel guilt and not forgive yourself and feel low and ugly, incomplete, hopeless. You can choose that, or you can choose the alternative. And it is your choice. Whatever you're going through right now, it'll go away in the blink of an eye. When you acknowledge your true divinity, your true power in this moment, you move away from the separation in the world, separating yourself from the rest of it. So I want you to contemplate this with me. Right now, in this moment, go into the field around you. Expand out into it. Close your eyes and feel yourself in the things around you, in the chair or bed you're in, moving around into the tables and desks, expanding outward into your apartment or house, wherever you're living or wherever you're listening to me, and just feel the energies around you. And I want you to realize that it is you. And as you do, you become aware of your place and domain within all these things. Continue to expand your field. Continue to expand your field and make your light so bright the shadow is so far away. You are not your past. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what happened to you. Get over it. I know it was hard. I know you feel anger. I know it bothers you. I know you can't let it go, but you have to get over it because it happened in the past. And every time you think about it, it's going to create a reality for you. Your thoughts project into the future, and the shadow is left behind. So the shadow will change the nature of it and what it is. Don't deny it, change it, and create the reality that you deserve. Not just for yourself, but in service, in the way that you meant for yourself to serve. And there you will find the love that you have sought all this time, and the truth of who you are. And you will move on into the next simulation, which is so much more. And the levels and versions of this game that you enter into never end, continually expanding in complexity and beauty forever into infinity, in perfection, in harmony. It was all your plan. It was your thought. Thank you. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. Buy my art at newearth.art. Powerful fourth density technologies. Images designed to magnetize and broadcast. Now available at newearth.art. Welcome to the Reality Revolution.